start let's start the introduction in 2 minutes maybe. People are
Sure,
still coming
sure,
in.
sure. So just a reminder to everyone again that this session is completely recorded. In case you want to hide your name, you want to rename it, you want to join as a Cronus, please, it is welcomed. Definitely, you can join do that. And so I'm here from India, welcoming everyone. Today we have a beautiful evening, and I'm inviting Narsim for today's session. Today and next week also we will have Narsim in the same continued session. This is the session 15 of the group Dynamics 365 User Group India. We call it as D365 UG India, and we have been doing lots of um, uh, multiple business applications, just not the dynamic finance and operation. We have given sessions on Azure. We have been trying to do globally this event, try to be every Saturday or Sunday. Sometime we have also delivered it on late Fridays. Obviously, before going to the party mode, we would like to do finished up and not disturbing the people in weekends. Also, this is our group logos. You can feel free to use it, share it amongst, and we have the LinkedIn connection. You can scan it to connect to the to our group. Tutor you can follow. Then we have our video, which is already recorded. Then you will find it in our YouTube channel. Similarly, so this is the past sessions which I've been doing. We started on 10th of July 2021. And this is our journey till now. We have been doing great in our sessions. We have been also supported by MVPs and also the Microsoft group. So these are the conversions which we have taken. These are the finance and operation integration. So there are lots of topics. In case you have missed anything, please go back to our YouTube channel, find the recordings, and do comment, do share it, do download it or view it online. You meet your volunteers. We have Rachit Kirk, very active member, and he is having 16 years of experience. He is currently with PwC Australia. As you know, myself, this is Umesh, and I have around 12 years of experience in supply chain management and finance, and I'm right now with Columbus, India. Satya Klejwal sir, he's with us now. So he's right now. The slide is old, but we will update it. He's in Sydney right now, and he's having 16 years of experience. And Rahul sir, who is in CTO of HSO, he's having 19 years of experience. Anybody would like to have their name as a volunteer and they want to really volunteer, then you are welcome to our volunteer group. Do recommend your name or suggest your friends in case they are interested to join us. And then today's session. So today's session is very good. Actually, it is on vendor onboarding. Vendor onboarding is what I should tell that this is the best feature nowadays companies are implementing for the vendor collaboration, so that the supply chain would happen seamlessly, like purchase acquisition or purchase order, whatever they want to send it, whatever it is done through the vendor collaboration, it should happen seamlessly. So I hereby welcome our today's session presenter, who is Narsima. He's having 12 years of experience into Dynamics field, and right now he is in India, but he's from UAE. Thank you. And welcome, Narsima.
Hi everyone. Thanks, Umesh. Thanks for introduction about me. And so, can I take it forward, Umesh, with your permission?
Sure. Please go ahead.
All right. So great. So, guys, good morning and good afternoon and good evening from whichever the part of world you are from. Hope everybody is doing great and safe too. So today, basically, we are going to have a session on vendor onboarding process, which is a part of vendor collaboration module within Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So before getting into the actual agenda, so I have some set of slides. Let me just present them. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so let me share my screen.
Sorry,
So,
one announcement.
was-
Rajshekhar is trying to come in the meeting. I think there's some technical reason I'm not able to admit him. Umesh, can you do that?
The same
I
case
think
with me. I'm trying to enter him, but
I
it's
I
just
tried
showing
it.
admitting. Yeah, maybe the
Yes.
Teams issue. Yeah.
Yeah, only yeah, from maybe from his side, but it had happened like at least 10 times now, and it is
Correct.
blocking the view as well, right? For
Correct.
yeah,
everyone.
yes, that's true.
So if anybody knows him, please
Yeah,
convey this
I know
message.
him. I know. Let me
Oh,
just.
No, I think we are good to go. Whatever administration task we have to do it, I will do it. I will take care of that. You can just share your screen and move forward, Nasima. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So I was talking mute. Sorry for that. So I think hope everybody is able to see my screen.
yes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right. So before getting into actual agenda for today's session, so let me introduce about myself. So I'm Narsimha Rao Kalwa, and I'm based in Dubai. Currently working with Inspirasis Solutions LLC based in Dubai, and I basically natively from India. So I have overall around 12 years of experience with multiple domains and ERP tools such as Microsoft Dynamics ERP, and also I worked on finance and accounting core domain areas as well, along with the supply chain planning and other foreign exchange verticals as well. Also, I worked on different business verticals such as distribution, manufacturing, or service management, retail divisions, oil and gas. I even implemented the projects for oil and gas, and even telecom related companies. So yes, so that is about a quick introduction about myself. So if you just let us directly, get into the agenda, today's agenda. So basically, agenda is to discuss about my vendor collaboration module, which is a part of Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So basically, this session the entire module will be covered in two sessions. And basically, today will be one session, first session, and then next Saturday will be another session. So today we will be covering vendor onboarding process, which is basically we call it as a vendor registration process within Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. So, before I'll take you to the system, I just wanted to present few slides which shows part of prerequisite configurations and some sort of a system slides as well, how the system screens and all looks like. So, which is basically the first thing that we need to ensure that the configuration setups and configuration which we have to configure to smoothly onboard a vendor. So basically, we need to configure the security roles. Uh, basically, what basically the security roles does is whenever we onboard a prospective vendor get a new link and then they try to register themselves in our Dynamics portal so that they should have specific roles. So for seeing for accessing our Dynamics system to see the specific screens of our system. Then vendor user workflow. So basically, once vendor prospective vendor user creation is created in Dynamics, we'll have to get the approvals from specific people within the organization, especially procurement manager, for example, and Azure administrators. So to create the user for the vendor. Also, Once vendor is registered in our portal, then the registration request comes and sits as a vendor request in our Dynamics portal. So that request should go through an approval cycle, approval matrix, so that for that we need to prepare vendor add application workflow configuration. So we also need to make sure that the vendor number sequences and vendor request number sequences. Yeah. So there are two number sequences with that we need to configure, which is a vendor account number sequence plus vendor request number sequence. Yeah. So I'll just go to my next slide, which shows some of the screens that you know a Dynamics a user can see basically in the Dynamics. So the first one is basically the prospective vendor registration request. So basically the process starts from prospective vendor registration request, which the data will come from multiple sources such as OData. OData is basically an integration platform where if a client is having, if the company is having a website, and if any anonymous user want to go to their website and then register themselves as a vendor, and then that data should come from a website to Dynamics 365 using OData integration. Then the data management, we also have another feature where we can import the data vendor, prospective vendor registration information, prospective vendor information in this request form through data import and export functionality as well, which is a part of data management tool. And also another source of data is basically by entering manually by procurement professional. So basically any vendor can contact in a company's procurement professional. So they will collect the data from their vendors and they'll enter the data in this particular form. So the process starts from here. Then it goes to a vendor user request. The procurement professional enters the data and then submits for user creation for a vendor. So that it goes for Azure administrators and supply chain managers and multiple level of approvals. Once that is done, then a user will be created for vendor. Once user is created for vendor, an invitation will be automatically can be triggered to a vendor email address, so that a vendor can use that Dynamics application URL and then try to register themselves in our vendor portal, vendor collaboration portal. So when they try to access our Dynamics portal, so this is the first screen that appears, which is a kind of wizard, vendor registration form, or you can also say vendor registration wizard. So which basically you'll have to click next, and then fill in the information and finally register themselves as a vendor. And the next screen basically shows once a vendor submits their vendor registration request, it comes and sits as a vendor request in my Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations ERP, and which shows in this particular screen. So here a procurement professional or a supply chain manager or procurement manager can verify the basic information about the vendor, and in case if any information is required, they can ask the vendor back to provide more information. Otherwise, if the information is sufficient, we can directly accept the vendor request, so that the supplier or a vendor will be a new vendor will be created in my system. So that is what the next screen is. Once vendor is created, so this is a form basically I can see in my all vendors list. Okay, so after this, basically this is the end of the process which I'll be taking through the system. And so once this is completed in today's session, we'll also continue the same topic. Basically, I mean to say that the same module, the other topics within the same module, which is basically vendor collaboration capabilities. After once vendor is onboarded, what else vendor can do with this vendor collaboration portal, which we'll be seeing in next week. Yeah. So that can have a Q&A session as well in the last. So that's all about the few slides about this, quick introduction about the application and the process of vendor collaboration or vendor onboarding process. Now I'll take you through the system. Sorry for that. So this is a Dynamics application. Let me go back to the home page. Just give me a second, please. My system is loading. Yeah, I'm using demo environment, which is basically my, which I have installed in my local machine. So I'll be presenting, the entire process in my local system today. Right. So I'm going to use USMF legal entity for showing this process to, give a deep dive into this process. So the first thing that, as I said, the process which starts from basically a vendor basically, sorry, prospective vendor registration request. So the information should come and sit in this form first of all, so that from here the next the further process will happen. So the data, the three steps that I have explained is basically the or either from OData or data management or manually enter data should basically happen. I mean, should be entered here within this form itself. So I'm going to create a new vendor manually. In case if you want to import the data, we have data management uh, export or import entity, which I'll just duplicate the tab and then show you which entity is that. So if you go to system administration, data management, so here, I can create an export project, and this is the entity basically to import the data in data basically. Yeah. So I can easily export this uh, entity data and then fill in the information within the Excel and then import it back. Yeah. So I can download this. So this is the Excel file that normally I have to fill in. So this is the existing data, which is in this particular form. So I can enter the data as it is. The new data, which I collected from my supplier or vendor, and then import the same Excel template using data management. So for now, I'm going to uh, enter the data manually. Sorry for that. So let me just click a new button so that a new record will be created. So for demo purpose, I'm going to use some dummy company name, also a dummy email of mine, so that it's just for visual understanding purpose. It's not the real data, by the way, but the process works same when you're working with the client. So a company, let's say Raj Industries. I'll just say Raj Industries. So basically, the procurement professional is going to input the data about their vendor, prospective vendor, and you can say line of business, let's say manufacturing. So in which business vertical they are into, then business justification. So let's say they want to give us some justification why they want to be part of our vendors. So let's say some sort of justification that we can write down. An organization number, in case if the company is having any registered number, they can enter the registered number as well. And the organization, the vendor is a individual person or an organization. So we can select, most probably it will be an organization when you're dealing with the B2B business. So that this will be a editable field, then the first name. So this is basically a contact person in this particular company. So in the Raj Industries Limited company, who is the contact person that basically we can have a primary contact. Also, the person who can access by using this particular email ID in to our vendor Dynamics, Dynamics portal, vendor collaboration portal, basically. So let's say I'll just give my name. So I'll just provide my name and I'll also provide my dummy email ID as well. Yeah. So in which legal entity I'm going to give an access for this particular vendor? So I can have multiple legal entities, but I want this vendor to be part of only USMF company. Yeah. So so once the data is filled in, it can be basically, you can even import multiple prospect vendor registration requests, not only one, through by using data import and export template. Then finally, you have to just click on invite user. So invite user. So you'll get an info log saying that the request has been submitted and it will get processed. So once it is submitted, you can see that vendor user request basically under prospective vendor user request. So here is basically it is completed automatically. It's submitted. Basically, what I have done in my workflow, there is a workflow which user workflow which is required, vendor user workflow which is required. That workflow process I have automated it so that the vendor is automatically got created. So what happens in this particular workflow, if you just go to my workflow history, so system try to ask the system try to send this request to Azure administrator for user creation for vendor to access our system, Azure B2B B2B user invitation. Then when it goes to multiple sort of approvals, so which can be a procurement manager or supply chain manager, so that the vendor user will be created in Dynamics. At the same time, an email also will be triggered to a vendor saying that your prospective vendor request is registered, and you can go and access my USMF company's vendor portal. So now, since vendor is created, so that basically you can see the completed status, which means the vendor is automatically created, approved and created, so that a vendor is ready to access my vendor collaboration portal. So for vendor to access the vendor collaboration portal, what I will do, I will just open up an incognito mode because my Google Chrome browser will not support another tab to open for the same link, right? So I'll have to open up a new incognito window for my vendor to log in. So now I become a vendor. I have a link. Basically, they'll use the same link, same URL link. Sorry, this was the earlier one. Yeah. So I'll just input my user ID, basically my vendor email ID. Just try to log in. So as soon as I try to log in, Dynamics actually shows me a registration wizard. So this is the first screen that appears to a vendor when they try to access my portal for the first time. So basically, I'll have to go through the registration process as a vendor, which basically requires to enter some basic information about myself, about my company basically. So we'll just click in next. So the first screen that appears is basically a country. So my company is based in which country? So I'll say India. So we'll just select the India here, then just click next. So here I can just, rename in case if I want to write down the legal name of the company, I can write it down, and I can also write down the business, what business exactly I'm doing it. It's just all additional options and the fields that are available as part of vendor collaboration module. This as part of this vendor onboarding process, and I can even have a telephone, phone number, and email ID, company email ID, company email. Let's say company email ID. I can say oh, Watch Industries. So I can also add my company address. So Raj Industries head office, and I'll just select the country. Then some address. I'll just put down some street information, then I'll select the city, say Hyderabad, and say state will be automatically selected, which is linked with the city. Just click OK. So my address will be automatically added here. Then I'll just go next. And the primary contact information will be automatically filled in, which I have, which basically my procurement professional has entered during the request. So in case if I want to alter it, I can alter it. Otherwise, I can just continue. Just click next. So here we have some business information about the vendor, which is basically ownership profile. So whether the owner of the company is minority vote yes or no, and woman whether the owner is woman or no, yeah, and whether the small business or big business, all this additional information basically we can optional information we can add in. Then the line of business organization number, which is automatically added from the prospective vendor registration request. Then the line of business, which is my business vertical, I can select it from the drop down. So if my business is basically, let's say, manufacturing, I'll just try to select some manufacturing. Okay, manufacturing is not available here. I'll say wholesalers. And what about the the number of employees that actually I have in my company? Let's say 5,000 employees are working in my company. And tax exempt number, federal tax ID type, and federal tax ID. These are all the company country specific. Basically, these are all related to US. Uh, so basically, US compliance requires the federal tax ID, so that requires. So in being as India, basically, I'm registering my company as an Indian company, so it is not required. So based on the country specific compliance, this information will be required. Then I'll also select the currency, in which currency I want to deal with this company. So it's basically, let's say INR. And the terms of payment, what is the terms of payment that I want to provide? Basically, I want to agree for this particular business. Just select the 30 days. And just click next. And we also can add, vendor can also add what kind of category of items he can supply. So let's say if we go to add category, so the default category that I basically set up in my system, that category nodes will be automatically appeared here. So basically my vendor can access that category master and then select which kind of categories I can basically access it. So let's say I supply desktops, and I also supply, let's say, laptops. So we can select multiple categories. Next. So that's all about the basic information, initial information about the vendor. Then finally, I can just click finish. So the vendor registration has been submitted. And what happens when this is been done? A vendor request will be created in my Dynamics ERP. So let me go back to my Dynamics with USM of legal entity, and in procurement and sourcing module, if you see, vendors, vendor collaboration request. Here we have something called vendor request. So here, if you see, the Raj Industries Limited vendor is actually being created as a vendor request. So I can just open up the vendor request and see the information, basic information. What is the name of the vendor? What is the organization number? Yeah, and the vendor information, additional information such as address and contact information. If I go further down, then I can see the procurement categories that I have added and business information, number of employees. So questionnaires also basically we can even incorporate the questionnaire part as well during the vendor registration process. But for this session, I have not configured the questionnaire part, but this is an optional functionality that we have. So in case if a company want to have any questionnaire, you can implement that as well to your client. So after verifying all the information, finally I can just, being as a procurement professional, I can directly go to workflow and submit this. So what system does is basically when vendor submits their vendor registration request, it will not immediately create the vendor, it will just create the vendor request. So after the vendor request is approved, my system will actually create a vendor, actual vendor. So my procurement professional will go to submit button, just write down a comment, a business justification or a comment that this vendor can be so you can just enter some kind of comment, just submit for workflow. So close this. I mean, you can just keep on refresh it because currently I have assigned myself as a approver so that it comes to me only for approval. So that's the reason I'm just refreshing. Yeah. So it is basically request pending for approval. If I just click on this workflow again, I have an option basically approve, reject, additional information required or duplicate. So basically in business real-time business, what happens, this request might be approved by a procurement manager or supply chain manager, or could be from CFO or CEO, whoever it is, or we may have a multiple level of approvals as well. So that depends. So you need to, as I said as I said in my presentation, that we need to configure vendor request workflow as well, vendor add application workflow as well, so that the workflow matrix will be driven accordingly. So I'm going to approve it. Yeah. So if I try to approve it, what happens, what system will try to do when it's asked me to select the vendor group, because if I want to create a new vendor in Dynamics, selecting a vendor group is mandatory, right? So without vendor group, system will not be able to create the new vendor. So it prompts me to select the vendor first and then submit it, approve it. So I'm going to approve it. Approve. So we'll just wait for another minute to get updated status. I'll just close this. You can just wait for a minute so that a request will be approved and automatically my vendor will be created.
Narasimha, you want to take some questions by the time?
Sure, sure.
So there are a few questions here. I'll start from the bottom. Are the workflows configurable by consultants?
Yes, obviously, Shivani, this workflow can be configurable. Obviously, consultants, when you are working for a project, obviously consultants have to configure this workflow. So I'll even show you the workflows as well. I'm going to finish in next 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes, I'm going to finish the process so that after that, I'll show you the configuration part as well. So if you just refresh
Narasimha,
it.
this is Sunil.
Yes, Sunil. Sunil, just give me a minute, please. I mean, just give me 2-3 minutes, please. So that I'll just complete with the process. Definitely, I'll take with your question because we have enough time for the questions as well. I'm going to
Let's
finish
finish
next.
this process
Three
here.
minutes.
Then we can take up more questions.
Yeah. Thanks. So if you see my vendor request got approved, that means my vendor is created. So now I'm going to my all vendors screen, procurement and sourcing, all vendors. So that if I just filter out my vendor name, let's say I'll be just begin with Raj. See, the vendor is created automatically. So if you just open up my vendor, I can see my number of employees is added, vendor name is added, organization number is added, and vendor collaboration also is automatically activated. So this vendor collaboration process, the activation, what this vendor collaboration does, we are going to discuss in next week. So if you also see the address part, address is automatically added, contact information will be added, and additional information in case if you have entered, and vendor profile, currency, line of business. So basically we can verify all these details, and then you can conclude the vendor creation part. So that's all about the process of vendor onboarding. It's a very good feature in Dynamics 365 vendor collaboration, vendor onboarding process. Very nice feature, which is basically recently so many clients has been asked actually for this feature, and I have implemented for so many clients. Yeah. So now if you come back to configuration part, which are all the configuration that we have to do it, before going to configurations, I'll just, yeah, sure, I'll take the questions. So, now I think Sunil, you can ask me.
Yeah, Narasimha. Actually, you have shown how the new vendors can be included in the vendor collaboration portal. That was really great. The one thing which I need a confirmation from your end is like whether it can be done for the existing vendor as well or only for the new vendor.
Yes, it can come from the existing vendor also. That process I'm going to show you that, Sunil. So what I can do is basically, so for example, all vendors. So currently, if a new vendor is onboarding, the process which I have shown you in last 30 minutes, that is the process. And in case if the existing vendor is already onboarded with the with a different the vendor is already onboarded earlier, whatever the source of method was, and we want to give a vendor collaboration access to that particular supplier. So let's say, for example, this is the vendor best supplier Europe. So how basically I can give a vendor collaboration access for this vendor is basically, first of all, I have to create a vendor contact, a primary contact I have to create. So I'll go to vendor. So if you see the general tab, see here, vendor collaboration is not active for this particular vendor. So what I can do, I'll go to vendor tab at the top and I'll go to contacts. First, I'll have to create a contact. In case if already if there is any existing contact is available, we can even give an access to that particular contact. Otherwise, I'll have to just go and create a brand new contact. Add contacts. So you can just enter a name, let's say Sunil, and just save this contact. So after saving this contact, you can just go on, just click on this provision vendor user. So I'm going to make this user as a vendor user, so that this particular contact will be able to access the vendor collaboration portal. So here I need to write down the email, that particular contact Sunil's email, and then the business justification why they want to be part of our vendor collaboration. And automatically there will be some setups, there's some security roles that I need to configure for becoming a vendor collaboration user. So these are the two security roles that I need to mark it. And here I also need to select for which legal entity it has to be, or it has to be enabled. So here I can just give a name when, let's say, Sunil, or I'll just say Narasimha dot.
you can use any dummy ID.
I'm sorry for that.
No, I was just saying that you can use any dummy ID. Maybe,
yeah, I'm just showing the process. Anyways, I'm not going to create a purchase order today. Obviously, that will be next session. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Ritesh, you have question. I think you can ask.
Just submit.
You can put it on the chat.
See, when this particular contact is vendor collaboration, and I can also see that particular request to your vendor collaboration user request, which will be submitted and then automatically approved. Once it is approved, if I just come back to my vendor master, just close it. My vendor collaboration status will be automatically active.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Ritesh,
can I ask my question?
Sure, Ritesh, please go on.
I have two queries. So first query is like when we create vendor prospective request and once the workflow is approved and invite is sent to the vendor contact, a user will be created. So do we need a license so that they can use the Wizard?
No.
No, there are no licenses are required for vendor creation or vendor users. So it's basically unlimited vendor users can create it.
Okay. And on Wizard, can we attach the document and will that be available when the vendor is created? I mean, when the request is approved and vendor is created, do we
so
see those attachments again?
As part of the standard system, the vendor attachment functionality is not there during the registration process. So that can be added. That can be added with the demo vendor request or once vendor is created. So basically, procurement professional can get those kind of documents. Additionally, later once vendor is created or onboarded, and then you can attach them against the vendor master.
Yeah, but not in Wizard, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, not in this case. Yes.
Okay. So you are saying there is no license required, but user is created, let's say, and then vendor request is created. If I reject that vendor request, that user will be deleted or user will be still lying there in my.
So user will be created and it will become inactive. It won't be active states.
Okay. On the rejection, it will become inactive, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One note that later you need to delete that particular user invite from the Azure Active Directory. It will be sent as an external setup as external Azure Active Directory user. So you need to delete that.
Absolutely.
See, I think
Okay.
related to, sorry, Ritesh, are you done?
Yeah, I'm here, yes.
Okay, I think related question here coming from Anurag, how we can automate the task for setting up the B2B user account in Azure Active Directory. So is any need of setting up the account in Azure Active Directory?
No, it is not needed. What will happen is in the backend, it will provision and send a mail to the designated vendor email ID.
Sorry, Umesh. Just continuing Umesh's statement that when there is a workflow configuration that we have to do as part of vendor user workflow, that basically will automatically do when you approve that particular vendor user request. So workflow will have automatic actions within the workflow configuration itself.
Yeah, hi Narsimha. So actually, I'm asking this question because once your workflow is assigned, right? So you need to download that request detail and then you need to upload it to the Azure AD, right, for user creation.
Yes, that is part of Azure Administrator, and you will download that as a CSV file and upload it for the user creation.
Yeah. So the when you were showing you have automated that process, right?
Yeah. So basically, in case if the workflow is a manual, so that will be done manually by Azure Administrator, and then he will just complete his task. So in this case, what I have done it in my workflow, I have automated this workflow action, so the system will automatically create it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification. Okay.
Yep, that was a very good question, Anurag. So I also didn't know that this can be automated out. Like I always thought it's automated, but it can be manual as well. I didn't know that.
Correct. So it can be automated. So before concluding or before taking another further questions, so I just wanted to show you the configuration part quickly. So
Meanwhile, just one, I mean, information if someone has. We were
Yes.
working on one project earlier, and we came to know that Microsoft is working on some other vendor portal. Not only just this wizard thing, something more than this. So, do we have any update if someone know about it that any other vendor portal is there in Microsoft Dynamics FO, or
Uh,
Microsoft has
as
some
of
plug?
now, as of now, we didn't have any official information from Microsoft. We didn't hear anything about it. So as of now, we have this vendor collaboration portal chip, and then definitely we are expecting more and more enhancement as part of this particular module.
Okay.
I think you might be asking about the Power Platform external websites, which can be used as a vendor
Yes,
collaboration.
you can use Power Platform portal as well. Power apps also you can use.
Yeah.
Microsoft was working on something similar, some Power Platform only, but I never heard about it later. So just thought of asking. No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, 1 second. So basically, as part of configurations, as I said in my presentation, that we need to configure the security roles, vendor user workflow, and vendor add application workflow, and number sequences, vendor number sequences. So first of all, to configure the workflow, to give us security roles for the vendor user, prospective vendor user, we'll have to go to system administrator. Security external roles. So basically, we'll have to give vendor prospect external user, and the party role should be prospective vendor. This has to be done. That otherwise, you'll not be able to invite the vendor. You'll not be able to invite the user for a vendor request, prospective vendor user request. That is the one setup that we'll have to do. And the other one is workflow, user workflow. Basically, we go to workflow, user workflows. And this is the vendor user request workflow. So this workflow has to be configured, and the system will automatically create it once approvals are done. Then the third setup is basically as part of procurement and sourcing module and the setup procurement and sourcing workflows. Here we have something called vendor add application workflow, where once vendor request comes, and then when you submit it, it goes to the multiple level of workflow matrix. And once all the approvals are approved, then by using this particular workflow configuration, and then it creates a vendor. Then we have a vendor number sequence. Also, we have vendor request. So if you see my vendor request, sorry. So if you go to my vendors and vendor collaboration request and vendor request, so here we have something called request ID. So configuring this number sequence also is a mandatory. So where basically you configure this is in organization administration. Organization administration module and the number sequences. So here basically you can filter out based on the purchase is the area. Then you can say just check that again. Vendor management. Then we have something called request ID, and you can filter out for which legal entity, my USM of legal entity. So you can just basically just see for which legal entity you configure for USM. Let me find it out. Which one is the USMF? Yeah. So this request ID you need to configure. Basically, this number sequence is basically required to configure. Then only your vendor request will be created once vendor registration is completed by the vendor. So that's all about the configuration part. So yeah, so I think we can go for the further questions if you have any.
Yeah, so session is done for the today, right, Nasim?
Yes, yes. So that is our process basically as part of process and configuration,
Sure.
and that's all from my side today. And we also have a continuation session next week and next Saturday, same time at 6 p.m. IST, which will look at, and basically we're going to look at vendor collaboration capabilities. So basically, once vendor is onboarded, today we have onboarded a vendor, and what we are going to do with this particular vendor next. So what are all the capabilities that are available in the vendor portal? Basically, we can see the purchase order creations. Vendor can access our RFQs in case if we send the RFQ, and they can submit the bids against the RFQs through by using the vendor portal. Also, they can even access the purchase orders in case if my company sends purchase order to using the portal, they can approve or accept or suggest the changes, and also vendor can create the invoices access the consignment inventory. So these are all the some capabilities that we can actually do by using vendor collaboration portal, which we'll be covering next Saturday. So yeah, so Umesh, over to you. That's all from my side today. Thanks. So thanks everyone.
Sure, thank you. Really, it was a very useful session, and it was really having much of the informations which were even new to me. So in the continuation, we will have the next session. The floor is open. In case you have any questions, please post in the chat window, or directly you can unmute yourself and ask the questions to the group.
I think there are questions in the chat.
Almost regarding this licenses required for the vendor.
No, not required. Licenses are not required.
Not required.
Yes.
And any setup for that Azure request we are doing?
Azure setup, see, vendor collaboration, like creation of the vendors will be done in two ways. First one is the manual, if it is not automated through the workflow. What will happen is you will get a CSV file. You need to go to Azure Active Directory, and then there is a bulk upload feature. So let's suppose you have created one vendor, two vendor, or three vendor, or maybe you are having 50 vendors. So you just go and click on upload, bulk upload guest invite, and then click send. It will be sent to all the vendors with the pre-requested email address. It will be already downloaded in the CSV format. It will have this. It will have 5 informations which I see. First one is your vendor name. The second would be the email address, valid email address, and the third would be the external you want to specify some message to the vendor that will be contained in one text message. That's the message, and then third would be the application access as an app. So it will be just given you. It will be just invited you as a guest to the B2C or B2B.
Okay. So means that will be covered in the next session, or how?
No, if you want, I can show you directly. Give me 2 minutes if you want.
Hi Narsima, do we have this session saved anywhere? Because I believe this is very useful, you know.
Yes, Srikanth, session will be saved and uploaded into YouTube as well. So Umesh and the team will be taking care of it. I hope.
Yeah. So we have YouTube channels. So you search for D365 User Group India, basically D365 UG India. You will get it. And okay, so go to Azure Active Directory. So in case you have the CSV file, yep, welcome. So in case you don't have the, let's suppose I am not having the complete CSV right now from the finance and operation team. So what I will do, I will go here and have the bulk create option. And over here, I will just try to have the download of the template. So this template would be different. The guest invite will be different. I just need to tell the all this information will be preloaded when vendor collaboration we need to send it. So it will be having the initial username, password, block sign in, all those informations will be there. I think this 4 information is needed, and other is okay.
So this okay, username, password. Along with this information will be uploaded at this portal, Azure portal.
Yes. Azure portal. I will just show you one demo quick. So let's suppose this is the invitation. Okay, and the email IDs would be like my personal ID. Let's suppose. I'll just show you a small demo quickly. I have some time. .co.in. And I have, let's suppose I have my older password. This is not valid anymore. It was my first password, so I remember it. So I'll just paste it over here. I will make it true. And oops, sorry, I will make it true. And then over here, I will just say, welcome to the VEN vendor collaboration. Okay, so similarly, I will just say, sorry, I don't know why mouse is not working completely. Save it, close it, come here and go to the desktop. And I think it is invite, open and submit. So it will just process it. And and then it will be completely shown over here. When it processes, normally it should come over here. Okay, and once you go to the Azure Active Directory, you will see there is a few. Yeah, so bulk operation has been done. If you see, this is sent as a guest. One more should be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we can import this user in the D3.
It will be automatically done, right?
Okay.
While it will have the so apart from the information which I have shared you in this guest invite, it will also contain a URL. What I supposed to know, right, Narsim?
Yes. You're right. You're right.
So
yes.
So once you click on it, it will be automatically provisioned. Okay, and you will be only given access to the vendor collaboration module.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so I was any question? Otherwise, I will announce the next session would be on 16th April. We are proposing if somebody else, if you guys are interested to give this session, then you are welcome. You have the call for speaker is open and submit your idea is open. You can scan this code. You can send me a mail. You can text me on the WhatsApp number. My numbers are all public. And my LinkedIn ID is everybody's know, so you can connect over there me and ask me whether you can give the session or not. We are all accepting all the ideas. We are very dynamic and we should give you an opportunity to speak definitely. So for the next session on the 16th April, between them, we have an Muthu, our friend. He will be delivering the level 100 for X++. There's actually a huge demand on technical side, so that's the reason we have put in him. And shortly, I will announce the HR capabilities, which is there in Dynamics, will be shown lively in the next sessions, probably. Maybe it will be before April or it will be after 16th April following week. Okay, floor is again open. Please give applause to our presenter today, Narsim, for the support.
Hi Narsimha, this is Ram.
Yeah, thanks, Umesh. Hey, Ram.
Thank you. Yes, Ram, please.
Yeah, it's really a good session. Like vendor collaboration is nowadays it is a very important in Dynamics. Thanks for enlightening us.
Correct. Yes, definitely.
Thanks for your feedback.
Okay, any more questions? Otherwise, you may leave and have your personal timings with your family. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Happy weekend.
So thanks everyone. Thanks.
Thanks everyone.
And, take care.
Thank you everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.